Josh, hello.
Hi. Given the stakes you've laid out regarding a default, can you tell the American people what you think the differences are so that they can understand the situation? And how confident are you that some kind of deal can occur before the start of the year?
So look, the president is confident that there's a path forward. If both sides come in good faith, he believes that we can get this done when it comes to the budget, when it comes to laying out how we see the budget moving for the American people. He's optimistic, but again, it has to happen in good faith. And look, these are how negotiations work, right? It's a little bit of give and take. This is the core of democracy. That's what we're seeing at play here. And as long as everyone understands that you don't get everything that you want when you have negotiations. And so this is a president that understands this. He has been very clear how imperative it is to get this done. And so, look, we're confident, we're optimistic. We're going to give the negotiators, the budget negotiators, some space, some room to have these conversations. As you know, they met evening in local time, and it just broke up right before we came to the podium. And so we're just going to make sure that the president's team continues to do their hard work and gets to a deal.
And any transparency on those differences?
So look, I mean, we've been very clear. We've laid out what our budget is. I just said at the top, right? The president has been very focused on continuing to cut the deficit. That's, remember, the first 2 years, we've talked about it, $1.7 trillion. The president wants to build on that. There's a $3 trillion over 10 years. And so we've been very clear, and I've said at the top, and I've said many times, if Republicans are very serious about cutting the deficit, then they would do that. Then they would look at the wasteful spending that we're seeing, that those subsidies that go to big oil companies, that go to big pharma. The president laid out how he's going to do that. $200 billion in profits. That's not necessary. And so instead of putting forth ideas or proposal that's going to hurt the neediest among us, that's not how we should move forward. And so it's been clear. We put out our budget in March, almost 2 months ago. We've seen what the House Republicans passed at the end of April. And so it's clear where each side stands. Yes. Go ahead.
Thanks. Just two on the debt limit. What exactly is it that the White House has told Republicans that you all might not be able to sell to Democratic members? Is it spending caps? And also, is the president going to speak, or does he have plans to speak to Speaker McCarthy, given the sort of hiccup that happened in the talks last night?
So look, I'm going to start with your last question first. Just to give a little bit of color, the president was updated by his team last night. I'm assuming he will be updated momentarily by the team. We can anticipate that. So he's being kept up to date daily, as we have said, multiple times a day. So the president is all over this and is going to continue to follow the negotiation and stay in touch with his team throughout the weekend. So we can expect that. As it relates to your first question, the spending caps, look, not going to negotiate in public. The conversations are clearly happening earlier this morning, our time, later in the evening, clearly their time. And so we are optimistic, the president is optimistic that we're going to get to a reasonable budget negotiation, a budget agreement here, a bipartisan budget agreement, as I stated at the top. This is something that has to pass the House and the Senate. It's going to need both Democrats and Republicans, just not going to negotiate from here. But we've been very clear where the president stands on his budget. As you know, as I mentioned, he released that on March 9th, as you all know. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks, Karine. Your tone has shifted a little bit from 24 hours ago in terms of optimism versus focusing on serious differences. Can you give a sense of how that shift occurred and how you expect to bridge those gaps?
Well, look, we wanted to be very clear with all of you where we saw the differences were, because you all have been covering this very closely and hearing from folks back home. But we are still optimistic. There is a path forward. There is definitely a path forward. We all know negotiations, as I just stated moments ago, is very difficult. We know that. But it is imperative to get this done for the American people. There is a sense of urgency that we have been very clear about. But the president continues to be optimistic if both sides come in good faith.
But you're saying if both sides come in good faith, should we conclude from that right now the White House does not believe Republicans are negotiating negotiating in good faith?
So I think what's important is that there was conversations that just concluded moments ago. I think that's important, right? And I think we need to give them, the negotiators, the budget negotiators, some space, some time to continue that conversation. But we are optimistic. I don't want to take that off the table. We are indeed optimistic. We think and we believe that there is a path forward. And so we're going to give them, the negotiators, some time and some space to do that. The president's going to continue to stay abreast and certainly stay very focused on the negotiations as we move forward. Okay.
Thanks, Karine.